In this video lesson, we are going to explain how to put your best foot forward when you're applying for a job, transferring schools, or looking for an internship. Having a strong resume will get you in the door at any of these various positions.
What is a resume and why is it important? The resume is a document meant to summarize your education, work experience, accomplishment, and skills. The main purpose of the resume is to secure an interview by showcasing your qualifications for the job. It needs to be well written and concise. It also needs to be organized because you need to be able to quickly and strategically communicate why your skills and achievements make you right for a job.
Finding the right template. The first thing you need to do when building a resume is to find the right template. The best template is one that is clean, minimalistic, and easy to customize. Some places to find these templates for free are Google Docs and Microsoft Word. To find templates on Google Docs, you can select it from the top Suggested Templates or go to the right side where it says Template Gallery. And on Word, you will click on File, then select one of the templates. You can also search the Template Gallery for other options. You can also look at the Career Center for other major universities. They have great resume templates.
Now going on to your contact information. Some things you want to include in your resume are a clear header with your contact information. This should include your first name, last name, phone number, email address, and optional information like your LinkedIn profile. As a note, please make sure that your email is work appropriate and something that you would want employers to see.
Under that, you should have an education section with your current education. In this section, you'll include the school's name, the degree you earned, where the school is located, the dates you attended, and your field of study. Some other things to include are your GPA if it is above a 3.5 and any honors, achievements, relevant coursework, extracurricular activities, or study abroad programs. For example, if you have a psychology degree at Ohio State University, you'll include the university name and state, Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology, and your graduation date.
Work experience. Afterwards, people tend to put their work experience. Make sure that the experience is relevant to what you are applying to. If you are applying to a graduate program or transferring to a 4-year university, we recommend putting experience that is more academic in nature. Whereas if you are applying to work in a specific field, put work that has given you credibility and knowledge in that field. For example, if you are applying to be a social media manager, input experience you have had with social media work, such as graphic design work or a marketing internship. Your work experience should be listed in the following format: company name, job title, location of employment, month and year started and left the position, and around 3 points briefly outlining your impact at the company. Remember to put your work experience in chronological order from most recent to oldest position.
Additional skills. At the end of your resume, you can include any additional skills, such as certifications, licenses, volunteer experience, languages, projects, awards and honors, and professional affiliations. Certificate and licenses include any professional certificates that are relevant. Volunteer experience shows community involvement and additional skills. Languages. List an additional language you speak. Project. Highlight significant projects that demonstrate relevant skills. Awards and honors. Showcase any awards or recognition. Professional affiliations. List memberships in relevant professional organizations.
Hard and soft skills. It is also important to include hard and soft skills. You might be wondering what these are. Hard skills are technical abilities. Some examples of these include programming, data analysis, typing speed, proficiency in a foreign language, and an Excel certificate. You may also be wondering what soft skills are. They are interpersonal abilities that include teamwork, communication, leadership, and time management. Please be aware that these are not the only soft and hard skills, and you can find a more extensive list if you simply Google hard and soft skills.
Action words. One crucial tip through your resume is to include action words. Action words are verbs that describe your responsibilities, achievements, and skills. They help to convey your experience and contributions effectively, using strong action words that can make your resume more dynamic and impactful. They are concise and persuasive expressions of achievements. You can find extensive lists of action words by Googling resume action words. First, identify your achievement. Think about an instance where you went above and beyond expectations in your current or previous role. Next, choose relevant action words to describe these achievements. Use dynamic verbs like developed, led, achieved, improved, and implemented. Action verbs bring your resume to life and clearly communicate your role in the achievement. For example, if in your last role you oversaw 5 people, you would say something like supervised a team of 5, or led a team of 5. Tip: vary your verbs to avoid repetition. This keeps your resume engaging and highlights the diversity of your skills. And remember, when describing your current roles, make sure to use the active form. This means applying present tense verbs. Instead of saying managed a team of 5, you would say manages a team of 5.
Quantify achievements. Another tip is to quantify your achievements. Some examples are, instead of saying, I led the team in the implementation of specific projects, a stronger way to say this is, directed a team of 15 employees in the implementation and completion of technical projects. Instead of saying, created articles for content, you can be more specific and quantify what you created by saying, produce 5 created 1,000-word content articles per week. Instead of saying, implemented a time-saving sales process to cut time, you can say, introduce a time-efficient sales process to management to cut average call time by 15 minutes. Instead of saying, answered phone calls to provide customer service on a day-to-day basis, you can say, assisted 25 to 30 customers per day by providing knowledge and expertise to effectively resolve complex and escalated situations. Instead of saying increase company financial growth, you can say implemented several strategic projects in an effort to increase company financial growth, which resulted in an increase of $300,000 from the previous fiscal year. By quantifying your achievements, you make your resume more compelling and give potential employers a clearer picture of your capabilities and the value you would bring to their organization.
On average, employers look at your resume for 6 to 7 seconds, which is why it is crucial to have a resume that is organized, easy to navigate, and sets you apart from other candidates. What is the START method? The START method leverages your work history to provide specific and thoughtful examples of when you exceeded employers' expectations. How to use the START method. S stands for situation. Describe a specific challenge or situation you face. T stands for task. Explain the task or responsibility involved. A stands for action. Detail the actions you took to address the task. R stands for result. Highlight the outcome and its impact, using quantifiable data if possible.
Examples of the START method. For example, if you are working as a social media manager, you would select a time you successfully exceeded job expectations as following. Situation: manage social media for XYZ company, aiming to boost engagement and brand visibility. Task: launch a campaign to promote a new product release. Action: conducted audience research to understand demographics, interests, and online behavior. Result: achieved a 40% increase in engagement metrics, driving a 25% rise in website traffic. Ultimately, you want to get a final bullet points that are concise and descriptive. For example, you want them to read something like, developed and executed targeted advertising campaigns based on audience insights, resulting in 40% increase in engagement metrics, a 25% rise in website traffic, and substantial growth in product inquiries and sales. So you're putting your entire STAR together to make this compelling and engagement final bullet point that describes why you would be an asset at that company.
By following these steps, you'll be on your way to make a strong impression and landing that job, internship, or academic opportunity. Remember, your resume is a personal marketing tool. It should clearly communicate your skills, achievements, and potential to future employers or institutions. Be sure to keep it concise, use strong action words, and quantify your achievements to stand out from the crowd. Regularly update your resume to reflect your latest accomplishments and tailor it to each opportunity you pursue. If you ever have any questions or need further assistance, don't hesitate to reach out to the Writing Center for guidance. Thank you for watching our video on how to create a compelling resume.
In-text citations. In-text citation can be considered parallel and the sister process of composing a works cited section of your essay. Generally speaking, whenever using borrowed material within academic writing, it must be credited appropriately. In this video lesson, we'll go over what in-text citations are, why and how to use them, direct quoting versus paraphrasing, signal phrases, and parenthetical citations, tips for approaching in-text citations, and the differences between the 3 most commonly used formats.
What is in-text citation? In-text citations are used whenever borrowed material is used within academic writing, such as when using information from text, audio, video, and/or other sources. borrowed information must be credited appropriately by using in-text citation. This includes both direct quotations and paraphrased information from your outside sources. On the slide, there are 3 examples of parenthetical in-text citations. They are formatted in order, MLA, APA, and CMS. We will go into more detail about each format throughout this lesson.
Why and how to use in-text citation. We use in-text citation to attribute credit properly and make sure other academics and authors are credited for their intellectual contributions to our work. Implementation of borrowed text can use 2 forms. These are direct quotation and paraphrasing. This implementation is used in MLA, APA, and CMS writing formats. The risks of failing to use in-text citation in your work can include marks off an assignment, a formal accusation of plagiarism, and/or expulsion.
Physical elements of an in-text citation. In total, the elements of an in-text citation would include any referential information to the source material. One element of this is the author's last name, or in cases where there is no author, this could be the title of the article or website. If there is an author, you should use their name in the citation. Be sure to choose which source of information is appropriate. The citation can be presented in a signal phrase or a parenthetical citation. Applicable page numbers must be applied in a parenthetical citation following the quoted/paraphrased material. Lastly, any punctuation within the quotation marks would then move to follow the closing parentheses. However, if there is no parenthetical citation at the end, for instance, if there is no applicable page number and a signal phrase was used, the punctuation would remain within the quotation marks as usual. In the first example, there is no signal phrase, while the second has one. In both cases, since there are relevant page numbers, there is a parenthetical citation. The punctuation moves outside of the quotation marks to follow the parenthetical citation at the end of the sentence.
Direct quotations and paraphrasing. Direct quotation refers to whenever text is borrowed word for word from a source and used in your writing. Paraphrasing refers to when information is borrowed and then restated in your own words. In these cases, even though your language has been modified enough for the sentence to be original, the thoughts and knowledge behind said text is still borrowed information and needs to be credited as such. For example, the following is a direct quotation done in MLA. Fitzgerald writes, "On this note, the diary ended." 122. If I were to take this information and rephrase it into my own language, I would still need to credit it as I am still borrowing information from an outside source. For example, it was then that the diary entries stopped. Fitzgerald 122. As there were no direct quotations, no quotation marks were used. Credit was still given to the author despite the lack of quotations and altered language, since this information came from them. We have also provided examples of how this will look in APA and CMS formatting. You will notice that both of those include the publication year. APA format will also have P for the page number.
Signal phrases and parenthetical citation. When using quoted or paraphrased information, one must lend credit either via a signal phrase or by using a parenthetical citation following the quoted/paraphrased text. A signal phrase is when a writer uses a sentence preceding quoted/paraphrased text to introduce the author of the original text. For these examples, we will be using APA format. Example 1. Fitzgerald 2005 writes, "A tip circulates, and in the place knowingly mentioned, gather the lower moral classes on Saturday and Sunday nights." Page 59. Here, the original author, F. Scott Fitzgerald, is credited in a phrase that comes before the quote borrowed from him. However, if one chooses not to use the signal phrase, they can credit the author in a parenthetical citation. Example 2. A tip circulates, and in the place knowingly mentioned, gather the lower moral classes on Saturday and Sunday nights. Fitzgerald, 2005, page 59. As can be seen, the signal phrase has been foregone and the in-text citation and proper accreditation are now in a parenthetical citation following the quoted/paraphrased material. Bear in mind, as a writer, you have the liberty to decide between the use of a signal phrase or to forgo them. However, in-text citation and proper credit must be done and given in academic writing.
Differences between MLA, APA, and CMS. MLA stands for Modern Language Association. It is most commonly used for English courses and is the most likely to be encountered in essay writing. MLA citation includes the author's last name, or in the case that there is no author, other referential information will be used, such as the title of the source. The in-text citation should also include the page number. APA stands for American Psychological Association. It is more commonly used in STEM courses and business writing. It requires the author's last name or other referential information to the source. It will also include the publication year in parentheses following the author's name. Next, it will include the relevant page number followed by P for a single page or PP for multiple pages. APA will also have each element separated by commas. CMS stands for Chicago Manual of Style. It is generally used for journalistic and historical writing. It is the least common of the three and is the most different in its execution. CMS has two modes of implementation: author date system and notes bibliography NB system, which we will explore in more depth later in this presentation.
Examples of MLA in-text citation. Modern Language Association format is typically shortened to MLA. Generally, an MLA citation needs to include an author's name or some other referential to the source and any relevant page numbers. These can be included in variation and combination of signal phrases and parenthetical citation. For example, Fitzgerald writes, "Low below the flood of steam and the grinding of brakes came her voice." 163. Here, a signal phrase is used so we do not need to restate the author's last name in the parenthetical citation. We also have a relevant page number that can be applied, so we have the page number in the parenthetical citation. Because we have the parenthetical citation following the quoted material, the punctuation moves outside of the parenthetical citation. The reason for that is that the parenthetical citation is now the sentence's formal endpoint. However, let us view an example with no page. The movie, Stand By Me, has one of the best opening lines. "I was 12, going on 13 the first time I saw a dead human being." The quote is taken from the film Stand By Me. As it is a film, naturally there are no page numbers. A relevant timestamp could be included in their place if needed, which, like page numbers, would go in a parenthetical citation following the quotation. The signal phrase points to the credited source, in this case, the film title. To review, this is a scenario in which there are no page numbers and the source is introduced via signal phrase. Let us review the example again, but this time with no signal phrase. "I was 12 going on 13 the first time I saw a dead human being" is one of the best opening lines in a movie. A Reiner. As can be seen, the quote starts without a formal introduction. Since no signal phrase is given prior to the quote to credit it to a source, the credit is given after the quote in a parenthetical citation. In this example, the source is credited to the director. Credit could also be given to the film via its title or other referentials that could be appropriate. In our last example, we will see a source with no credited author or page numbers. The article states, "Technology has affected society for the worse in the past century." The age of paragraph 7. As there is no proper credit given during a signal phrase, the credit is delayed until the parenthetical citation. Since there is no credited author, credit is instead given by using the name of the article. As there is no page number, we can simply omit that information. However, if one would like to give specific direction lacking page numbers in a citation, other referentials, such as the paragraph, can be used, as is the case in the example. The formal endpoint is still at the end of the parenthetical citation, and the punctuation should follow it as such. You will run into a variety of combinations of information and a lack thereof. Use these guidelines to navigate deciding what physical elements your in-text citation needs relative to the information you have and need.
Examples of APA in-text citation. While not as outright common as MLA, APA is still a format a student can be expected to work with at least once or twice. While mostly similar to MLA, there are some additions and variations in their presentation that are worth mentioning. APA requires the author's last name or other referential to the source, the year relevant to the publication date of the work, and any relevant page numbers. Page numbers also have a P before the number itself. Also, within parenthetical citations, commas are to be used in between these elements. For example, Fitzgerald 2005 writes, "There was a disgusted groan from the apple barrel," page 207. Generally, the year follows the signal phrase or the author's last name in a parenthetical citation. Above is an example using a signal phrase. If one were to use a parenthetical citation instead of a signal phrase, all the information would exist in a parenthetical citation following the quotation, with the elements divided by commas. For example, there was a disgusted groan from the apple barrel. Fitzgerald, 2005, page 207. Minor and worth noting is the notation for several pages or a quote bridging 2 pages. Instead of the P to signify page, one would use PP to signify pages. For example, there was a disgusted groan from the apple barrel. It was a steam-driven train this time, rumbling and groaning. Fitzgerald, 2005, pages 207 to 208. In this example, there is no signal phrase, so all the information goes in the parenthetical citation. PP is used to signify the multiple pages. If one were to use a signal phrase, a few placements would change. For example, Fitzgerald, 2005, writes, "There was a disgusted groan from the apple barrel. It was a steam-driven train this time, rumbling and groaning." Pages 207 to 208. In this case, the author's last name is used in a signal phrase with the year following it, and the page numbers are presented following the quote in a parenthetical citation. APA format is very similar to MLA, with mainly the considerations for the use of the year, the use of commas as dividers, and the P or PP to signify page or pages.
CMS, Chicago Manual of Style, Author Date System. A CMS has 2 modes of implementation, which are the author date system and the notes bibliography system. Generally, writers will be told to use one or the other, or be given a choice between the two. First, let us go over the author date system. Like APA, the author date system asks writers to provide the author's name or other referential to the source, a relevant year of publication, and any relevant page numbers. Like MLA, there is no P or PP to refer to page or pages. For example, Fitzgerald, 2005, writes, "There was a disgusted groan from the apple barrel. It was a steam-driven train this time, rumbling and groaning." 207 through 208. Author and date are stated, and relevant page numbers follow the quotation. If we were to not use a signal phrase, the author's name would move to the parenthetical citation. Example 1. Skywalker 2010 notes that despite the economic growth of the Ewoks of the Forest Moon of Endor, they have all disappeared from minor tribes, even as their food supply, almost any living being from another planet, has tripled. The Ewoks have continually become sick and refuse to eat because of their high mortality rate. 487. In example 1, the author is referenced in a signal phrase with the date following in parentheses. Relevant page numbers follow the quotation and are also in parentheses. If we were to not use a signal phrase, the author's name would move to the parenthetical citation. Let us review another example using the same quote. Example 2. They have all disappeared from minor tribes. Even as their food supply, almost any living being from another planet, has tripled, the Ewoks have continually become sick and refuse to eat because of their high mortality rate. Skywalker 2010, page 487. In the second example, no signal phrase is used. All of the relevant information is contained within a parenthetical citation. This information is divided by a comma, which is used after the dates. No P or PP signifier is used to indicate page or pages.
CMS continued, Notes Bibliography System. The most involved and different formatting style of the ones presented is CMS's Notes Bibliography NB system. Unlike the other forms of in-text citation, CMS-NB makes use of the footnotes feature of your document in order to create in-text citations with which to refer back to your bibliography page. Generally speaking, your first instance of inserting a footnote for the sake of in-text citation would be a full citation of the source identical to the one in your bibliography proper. Consider that you may or may not be asked to include a bibliography to match your NB notation. If so, shorthand can be used instead of the full citation. This is at the discretion of your instructor, and you may be asked, and it may be safer, to include a full citation for the first time reference. Insert your footnote following your quotation/paraphrasing. For example, the Holy Ghost of this later day had, theoretically at least, descended upon him. This occupied his energies until he was 57 years old. Superscript 1. After inserting your footnote, its first use should reflect a full citation in your bibliography. The superscript of 1 shows that it is the first footnote used in your document. For example, Fitzgerald F. Scott, The Beautiful and the Damned, Barnes & Noble Books, 2005, 7-8, is how your first footnote referring to a specific source should read. There are some variations. Please do further research into these if you are interested in them. Whenever a subsequent reference to the same source is used, a shortened version of the footnote citation can be used. For example, early in his career, Adam Patch had married an anemic lady of 30. Superscript 2. So, here, since my footnote is referring to the same novel as already mentioned in my first footnote, it should be shortened to the author's name and any relevant page numbers. For example, Fitzgerald 8. It is shortened to simply state the author's last name and any relevant page numbers. The superscript of 2 notes that it is the second footnote in the document. The shorthand lets writers and readers know the source has already been used prior in the essay.
Tips for in-text citation. Worth noting is that regardless as to which format you use, you can use the author's last name, the article source name, the container name, etc. to refer to a cited work. A rule of thumb is to use the author's last name unless there is a particular reason not to. For example, if there is no credited author to a source, or if you are using multiple sources from the same author. In these cases, it makes more sense to refer to the name of the article, video, short story, book, etc. instead. For example, among other things, it developed during dinner that Joseph Blogman never danced, but spent the music time watching the others with the bored tolerance of an elder among children. The Beautiful and the Damned, 2005, page 81. This example makes use of CMS author date format. No signal phrase is used. Because of this, the credit to the author or source is delayed until the parenthetical citation. In it, we have elected to use the novel's title as a referential instead of the author's last name. As is appropriate for CMS author date, the referential is followed by the year and then a comma. Following this comma would be any relevant page numbers, timestamps, etc.
Conclusion. Citation is not difficult. Rather, it is pedantic and tedious. It is very hard to keep all the rules for all formats in mind at once. So, style guides and other forms of assistance are strongly encouraged. Citation is also something more flexible than it seems at first. While there are things needed in citations, sometimes there is more than one way to go about their implementation, such as using a signal phrase or not using one, quoting or paraphrasing, etc. Choose what is best for you and work smarter, not harder. Remember, in-text citation and a works cited or references or bibliography page are sibling steps in essay writing. They must mirror one another. From glancing at an in-text citation, your reader should easily be able to find its relative section in the works cited or references or bibliography page. Take your time and be thorough. It is not the Gordian knot students feel it can be. Other helpful resources could include your writer's guides, references you may be required to buy, websites such as Purdue L, and even AI resources such as Grammarly.
Online assistance is available via the epcc Writing Center website. You can meet one-on-one with a tutor virtually on Blackboard Collaborate. Audible and written feedback is also available via email submission. Please visit the Writing Center website for more information and operating hours.